Valley Club, understanding all the basics in Marvel Strike Force is going to be your key to dominating all the other commanders out there. So that's what this video is about. We're discussing the basics about the game, mainly for newer players, but veterans, you're going to get some value as well. We're going to explain team placement, how the speed bar actually works, what's the best place to spend cores, who's the best characters farm, what are the best things to purchase in any store, and a lot more. So whether you're brand new or been smashing Strike Force for years, should be an informative one, and you're ready for all of that and more than Valley Club, you know what to do. Find that like button and let's go smash it. And welcome back to the ValleyFlyin channel. I am ValleyFlyin. I hope you're having an excellent day, and I hope you're all ready to understand the basics all about Marvel Strike Force. As we're discussing in this video, mainly for newer players, but veterans, you should get some benefit as well. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button for more great Marvel Strike Force content. At least 5 Marvel Strike Force videos per week on the channel. Usually more. We got gameplay videos, news videos, guides like this, everything to help your experience in Marvel Strike Force. But before we get into this guide, I do want to mention the sponsor of this video. Valley Club, I want to welcome you to 8th Era, the mobile turn-based RPG that takes you on a journey 10,000 years in the future, where you join the Collector's Society to battle dangerous monsters, rescue lost relics, and rewrite history. So get ready for epic boss fights, intense PvE tournaments, and a growing roster of unlockable heroes. And every victory in 8th Era brings you closer to real-world rewards. That's right, 8th Era is the first mobile game where in-game milestones earn you exclusive limited edition collectibles, including physical coins featuring your favorite characters. With 8th Era, it's not just a game you're gonna play for keeps. And with innovative gameplay like the unique swapping mechanic, 8th Era blends classic arcade style with the latest in mobile strategy. You get a fresh, exciting way to play every single time. So scan my QR code or click on my link in the description. 8th Era is available now on iOS and Android. Download it now to join the battle for a future filled with real-world rewards. 8th Era, download for free and start playing for keeps. So if you want to get some physical rewards for your gameplay, just make sure you check out 8th Era. The link is down in the description. But without further ado, let's get back into Marvel Strike Force here and talk about some of the best teams to initially start to build up. Now, in the beginning, you do need to unlock a few game modes, and one of the game modes you need to unlock is Cosmic Crucible, War, some of these other game modes. And one of the best teams in the beginning to start to work on, some of these characters you can't get the shards for as a brand new player, but as a relatively new player, you can start to get some of these characters. So the first character of the Extreme X-Men, and I'm recommending Extreme X-Men because you can start to get some of their shards very early on, and they're going to give you value in the end game as well. I'm still using the Extreme X-Men every day in the raids. They're still valuable in the current raids that we have. So I think those are good teams. They also have value in Cosmic Crucible, value in War, and yeah, so you're gonna get value in a lot of game modes from them. And at least initially, until you have some of the more arena meta teams, Nightcrawler will work there until you get some teams like the Annihilators are dominating arena as of me making this. So that is where you're gonna get your arena team. All right, so Nightcrawler, where can you get him? You could get him in a Cosmic Crucible store, also in some of these orbs as well, maybe some new player milestones, new player offers as well, but mainly the Cosmic Crucible store is we're gonna start to farm him. So you do need to unlock that game mode in order to get Nightcrawler. Gambit is in a few different places. As we look where you could farm him, he is in an arena store, and he does have a node. Now you're gonna need to get towards the end to get to this node. It's in the hard heroes section, but once you get to unlock this, you can start to farm more shards of Gambit and unlock him a little bit easier. Forge is another early game character that you get, and if we want to get some shards for Forge, the place that you can get him on like a farmable basis is the War Supply store. Now this is a store that characters are going to rotate through, so you might not see Forge there every single day. The Blitz store, the Arena store, you're seeing those characters there every day, but you need the characters to actually get some RNG to pop up in War Store, Crucible Supply Store, but War Store is where you get Forge. Now Sunspot is going to be a late game farm. He's going to be in the harder heroes section, and that's where you can start to farm this character. So until you can get to this section, you're going to need another hero, and I'm going to recommend another Sun hero, and that's going to be an unlimited X-Men character, also an Alpha Flight character, Sunfire. This is a character that I recommend replacing Sunspot with. He's going to be available early on in this Blitz Supply Store, Blitz Orb, so you can get some shards for him. And this is a character that's not going to go to waste either, because Sunfire is on that Alpha Flight team and is still used in the end game of the Spotlight raids. Very good on War defense as well. Has some situational value for that team as well. But rounding out the Extreme X-Men, is Cyclops. This is probably the most replaceable member. The legendary character Old Man Logan does a lot better than Cyclops in the actual raids, but as a beginner player, this is a character that can get you to some of those early hero nodes as well. He is available in the raid orb. I missed it. The raid supply store and the raid orb is where you can get Cyclops from. And another great hero team that you could get pretty early on is the Spider Society. Now, as of me recording this, there are some milestones and some different things that they get from newer players that you can unlock this team. They're kind of a later game farm, but if you get unlock this team early, either through some milestones or events, this is a very good team because like the Extreme X-Men, they're going to give you a lot of value in the raids. They are one of the current teams in the Orcus raids right now, and they're great in War, they're great in Cosmic Crucible, they're probably going to be great in the upcoming Battle World mode, game mode. So yeah, this is a great team to farm. So Extreme X-Men, Spider Society, that's the way to go for some of your initial teams, and that should get you through some of the hero sections of the campaigns. For the villain sections, you're gonna need a villain team, and I think the best early game villain team out there is a Sinister / Superior 6. So Green Goblin Classic is a legendary character that's going to take a little while to get. Same thing with Doc Ock, but the other characters, Vulture, Slayer, Lizard, Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio, and even Rhino have some value. Wouldn't put a lot of investment right now into Swarm, Electro Green Goblin, the Goblin Green Goblin, and Shocker. The rest of these are very, very good. So those are your initial hero and villain teams once you could farm them. And those teams, Extreme X-Men or Spider Society, maybe both, and then the Sinister 6, those should be some great initial teams because I think that leads into what we want to do as a new player. I think the main goal as a new player is to get through a lot of these campaign missions as much as possible, which starts here. We've got a lot of these flash events going on right now, but heroes, villains, Nexus, Cosmic, Mystic, and then these do more ISO 8. Getting through these are very, very important. So I think that is the first thing you focus on, getting through as many of these campaign nodes as possible, eventually getting to the hard heroes, hard villain section, hard ISO 8, and the hard Nexus section. Those are what's gonna get you some gear. You could farm some character shards. We mentioned that is where you could get some more Gambit shards. You could also get those Sunspot shards there. And on some of these nodes here, on some of these hero nodes, you have some training mats or some gold orb fragments that you get. On some of the villain campaigns, you have some training orb fragments that you get. So yes, because this is where you're gonna get your gear, your character shards, other things that you need. I think campaign notes is the first thing you focus on. And while you're working on your campaign notes, I think you also work on your challenges for your training mats, abilities, a bunch of different stuff. We have these pop up, all these challenges pop up at least 3 times a week. And on Saturdays, you have all these catalyst challenges. And then on Sundays, you have these normal challenges. Getting through all these tiers here are very important because you're going to get the max amount of resources for this. So trying to get the characters that you need to get through these challenges. Also these flash events. As of me recording this, there is a payday event starting in just a little bit. Now, these are not as valuable as they used to be. These were one of our main sources of resources. But as the game has progressed, these are very, very minimal. So this isn't like a huge priority like these mercs. There are not a lot of great old school mercs, maybe some of the newer mercs like the mercs for money and things like that, but some of these are worth building. I think you do want to get through these because as they return, it is just free resources. And I think once you've beaten all the campaign nodes, you have all the challenges done, and maybe you have some of the flash events done, maybe not. I think at that point though, you are in the mid game, and then you start focusing on the things that everybody should focus on in the mid and end game. Now, as far as the game modes you put building teams for, after you build your campaign nodes, that's where I think you focus on an arena team. Now, whatever is the current arena team is what you should be building. The current meta features a lot of the Annihilator characters and obviously some of these mythic characters like Odin, Mephisto, Apocalypse. They're always gonna be in the meta, and you should eventually start to chase for some of these Dark Dimension characters and these mythic characters. But building up initial arena teams, so at least you hold your arena rank, is gonna be very important. If we look at the rewards for arena, this is gonna be your main source of power cores, and your power cores are gonna help you in every single game mode. We're gonna talk about some best uses of power cores in just a little bit, but it's gonna help you everywhere. So this is why I think arena is the main place you focus after you've done some of that initial stuff. After you do that, I think you focus on your raid teams. As you can see, there's a Spotlight raid and Orcus raid that you're doing every single day. if you're a newer player, you're doing some of these earlier raids, but eventually you want to be moving up the Spotlight, and Orcus, as me recording this, is the most current raid. So eventually you want to be moving up to these most current raids, and after your arena team, you build your raid teams, in my opinion, because this is something you do every day. The rewards are very, very good. Orcus raids gives them Crimson gear now, which helps with some of their later Dark Dimensions. So build your raid teams, and then you got your other game modes. You have Cosmic Crucible, you have Alliance War, and coming up very, very soon is Battle World. You could build these in whatever order you want. I tend to build them by enjoyment. I like Cosmic Crucible. I don't like War, so I build Cosmic Crucible characters. Then I start to build War characters once I have those resources done. You can build it in whatever order you want. I do think Battle World, though, will be pretty important. Probably I would go raids, then Battle World, based on what we know so far about Battle World, and then do what you want as far as Cosmic Crucible or Alliance War. That is the order I think you build for these game modes in. All right, so while you're building your Extreme X-Men or Spider Society, maybe both, and your Sinister Six, building up teams for your campaigns, challenges, arena teams, raid teams, you should be starting to work towards your legendary characters. And there are 3, maybe 4 legendary characters that are worth building right now. The rest of them, as they come to you, it's fine. But right now, I think the only ones worth building towards are Old Man Logan. And to unlock Old Man Logan, you would need the Out of Time team. You would need some cosmic bio characters, which includes Super Skrull. You may be able to get through some of the earlier difficulties just to get that Old Man Logan unlocked without Super Skrull. But for the higher difficulties, for a lot of stars on Old Man Logan, you would probably need Super Skrull for this. Hero skill, Spider Society is going to be very good in this game, in this mission as well. So yeah, build them. They're going to give you a lot of value. But the other required team is Cabal. So Out of Time, Cabal, and then Spider Society, and then if you're doing the higher difficult, Super Skrull. That's what you need for Old Man Logan. We also have Green Goblin Classic, older characters, so some of these teams are outdated that you need to build. We have the Rebirth team, which is an older team. Captain Carter and Captain America are still on that Out of Time team, so those you're doubling up on some value, but the rest of the Rebirth is not very good right now. Other thing you're gonna need is the new Avengers. Now, as of me recording this, the new Avengers are falling out of the meta. They're still a very good war team, but they don't have a lot of value outside of war. So those are the teams you need to build for Green Goblin Classic. Green Goblin Classic will help you in war and Cosmic Crucible. This is something down the road that you may want to do just because the game modes that he's going to help you with. He's not really going to help you in arena. He's not really going to help you in the raids either. And last but not least, as far as our newer type legendaries, is Black Cat. And for Black Cat, what you need is either Nowhere Team or Sinister Six. And because the Nowhere Team has kind of fallen out of the meta, there's a lot of teams that they cannot counter in war nowadays. Well, Sinister Six is the way to go. Not only will they help you with some of the early villain campaigns, but they'll also help you in unlocking Black Cat. And the last legendary character that I think is worth pushing for as a newer player is Doc Ock. Now, a few great options to unlock Doc Ock: Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes, Deadpool, Black Cat, Miss Marvel Hard Light, Photon, Doctor Strange just got a rework. Those are characters that are kind of in the meta as of me recording this. These characters there may be more characters, or there may be some shifts in the meta as you're watching this, but Doc Ock I think is worth going for because he's part of the Superior Six and Sinister Six. Like Green Goblin Classic, main value is gonna be for Cosmic Crucible and for Wars, so if those game modes are important for you, get that. We also have another character that I do want to mention, Black Bolt. Kind of the fifth character that is worth building up. The Illuminati is a great team in Cosmic Crucible, great team in War. Black Bolt is on the 5 ideal members of the Illuminati. So once you are mid-game, almost toward that end game, I think you do start working on Black Bolt. But before that, I think you could wait on that. And the main premium resource in Marvel Strike Force are power cores. The main way to get that is from arena, your arena battles, your arena ranking. You could also buy them. And when I'm looking for offers, I like the 100 power cores to $1 or better offers that have a lot of other stuff as well. So this is a little more than $1 per 100 power cores. They're getting closer, but yeah, none of these deals are great for me. But when it's that deal and you're getting some extra stuff like power cores, like some character shards or some other resources, then I'll seriously look at it. But where should you use your power cores? Well, the best place to use it is to refresh energy based on whatever event is going on at the time. So sometimes you might want to spend campaign energy. That's a great place to use it. Your incursion energy, your ISO 8 energy. And then there's sometimes flash events as well. As of me recording this, if we go all the way to the start, this Blade event, that is a decent place to use that right now, because the event that we have going on right now does reward you using this energy, and it does reward you using power cores. So if you're really trying to maximize events, you may want to use this stuff to refresh the other event energy. Now, other than your refresh energies, sometimes you might want to refresh stores, and that is another place to use power cores. However, I wouldn't go crazy with this, because let's say I'm looking for one unique piece here. I could refresh this 3, 4, 5 times and never see the piece I want. Or if you know what you're getting and you're all right with refresh not being as good. So if I refresh this candy store right now, spend these power cores, and there is nothing that I'm getting, that's fine for me. If you need more power cores and that's not fine for you, I wouldn't refresh any of the stores. But if you're okay with potentially getting something you want, potentially getting nothing, stores are a place that you may want to refresh. And the last place you may want to use power cores, depending on whatever character is being released, is on some of these new character orbs. They do cost 675 power cores. The chance for characters is very, very low. It is a 46% chance, so pretty much a 47% chance to get 6 shards for the character. There is a minimal jackpot, 0.13% to get 180 shards for the featured character, but that is another place to spend it. If you think the character is so good, it's gonna make a big difference for you. You've been saving your power cores for a while. You may wanna get that unlock initially with some of these characters, so you don't have to spend money, just use your power cores. Let's start talking about some of these individual stores. What are the best things to buy? What are some traps that you probably should not buy? Start with this main store here, the supply store, mainly based on gold. There are some things that you could buy for power cores as well. I'd probably avoid all of these characters. The one exception is if these 5 shards will take you to the next star level. It is pretty expensive for 450 power cores, but it may be worth it depending on the character where you're in the game. The rest of the stuff is gold, spent on gold, and usually this top row is probably the most recent gear tier, which as of me recording this is gear 19, this crimson gear. So if you're short on this stuff, you may want to buy this, but a lot of times I'm just going all the way down to the end and buying the cheapest stuff here. Let's move on to the Blitz store. You do have these war energy refills. If you're a war player, these will be important to you. You have some characters here that are very, very important. You have some of the Spider Society that we talked about. We also have some of the Sinister Six that we talked about. And we do have a member of the Hive Mind, which is one of the current raid teams. So some good characters to buy here. Sunfire is also in the Blitz store, which we talked about as a good replacement for Sunspot until you have that character. But yeah, there's decent characters here. Those are who I would focus on though as a new player. Sunfire, I would focus on Spider-Man Pop and Spider Slayer, and eventually Gwenum in this store. The orbs, you do have a Blitz orb. You should have a lot of these, and these Blitz credits, if you do Blitz a lot, it does take a lot of time, but you can get more credits to buy some of this stuff. Now this orange and purple gear, because the Blitz credits do become very, very abundant as you get to the later game, you may want to get some of this stuff to get some of your characters up in the early game, but eventually you're probably just going to be buying these Blitz orbs and maybe some character shards and just letting it sit for a while. The raid store is actually a pretty good store. This is where you could buy some awakened abilities. I wouldn't buy any of these awakened abilities until you are gonna have the character unlock, or at least until you start chasing for the character. As I'm recording this right now, Green Goblin Classic, Black Cat, and Nova's awakened abilities are in this, and I expect some of the other awakened abilities to go in this store down the road. Now, some good characters that can pop up in the raid store. Craven is a member that's Superior / Sinister Six. Miss Marvel Hardlight was a part of the arena meta and be a good character down the road in Cosmic Crucible and War is losing some value. Same thing with Icarus. Down the road, they have some value for you. But what I like to buy is a lot of these teal pieces. The current gear is that crimson gear, but I still go back and buy some of these teal pieces. They are a good value, especially some of these pieces that come in 100, these origin pieces here. So these are good things. If you are in some of these older tiers of gear, this is a great place to stock up on gear as well, to gear up your characters to get them to that eventual crimson level. Moving on to the arena store, you have some current arena characters, and this is one of the stores like the Blitz store that these characters are always going to be shown. Now, Sasquatch is the more recent character there, but in the beginning, I would focus on some teams that are going to benefit you right away, like Peter B, like Gambit that we talked about, maybe Spider Noir down the road, because that is a character that's going to be in the raids. Dakin is good down the roads as well. Void Knight is probably the best member of the Hive Mind. And Sasquatch is a member of the Alpha Flight, which you eventually will need, but as a new player, you might want to hold off. Use your Blitz credits there in the beginning. These training modules, they do have like a random amount. Sometimes they're 20, sometimes they're 60, sometimes they're 80. I'm not sure what the logic is behind that switch, but usually when they're 60 or 80, I buy these. When they're 20, I don't buy these though. Moving on to the War Store, a lot of good characters here. This is a store that rotates, so if you want a character like Forge, you do have to get lucky or use some power cores for that refresh. But like I said, I don't think it's a good thing to be refreshing these stores all the time, because you could get nothing. You could get something, and as long as you're okay with both results, then spend the power cores. But if you really want something and you don't have a lot of power cores, you may want to hold off on that. But Forge, probably the best character in this store here. Carnage is very good as well. The rest of these characters you might want to hold off on for now. The Blitz Orb or the War Orbs, not a lot of the current gear. You have up to teal gear, so if you need some teal gear pieces that you're behind on, you may want to go to the War Store for that. The Cosmic Crucible store, this is a little crowded. Penny Parker is there, Nightcrawler's there like we talked about. Black Knight is a good character that you will need towards the mid and end game. I don't think you need them right away as a newer player. I think you focus on more fundamental characters that can give you that immediate benefit, like Penny, like Nightcrawler, like some of the other characters that we mentioned there. You got some teal gear here as well. I would buy this in the raid store because the conversion rate is a lot better in the raid store. You get a lot of raid credits, and these usually come in stacks of 100 in the raid store rather than stacks of 10. This elite store where you could use your silver promotion credits, gold promotion credits, dark promotion credits, your diamond credits, your silver diamond credits, and your dark diamond credits. This is where you can purchase more red stars or more diamonds for your characters. To purchase the diamonds, you do need your characters at that 7 red stars, so you need that 7 gold stars and be lucky enough to pull or buy that 7th red star for these diamonds. All these do is just increase the stats of these characters, which at the end game you would need. At the beginning part of the game, invest in the characters that you're going to use. Again, focusing more on your current teams like Extreme X-Men, Sinister Slash, Superior 6, and that Spider Society. But this is a good place. And as far as your diamond orbs, your master diamond orbs, this is where you're going to get all this stuff to pull the red stars for your characters. And hopefully getting some good luck with these diamond orbs to get some of the diamonds for your characters as well. Moving on to the ISO 8 store, I normally don't buy stuff in this store, but with these credits, these ISO 8 credits, I will open these depending on if I need shards or ISO 8 crystals for a particular character. I'll open it in that. You got your green, blue, and purple ISO 8 levels. So this is the best place to get these. Normally don't buy stuff in this store, which I have a lot of credits there. You may want to purchase stuff if you need particular pieces there. The Overflow, the Ultra store is where you can get some character shards for characters that you don't already have at 7 stars. When you get an overflow of characters, when you have 7 stars and you get more character shards, it does go to these Ultra credits here, which you could either use to purchase characters outright or get this Ultimus Orb to get a slight chance of getting the character that you want. If you don't have a lot of these characters, this Ultimus Orb is going to be more worth it for you. The more characters you have at 7 red star or 7 gold stars, the less valuable this Ultimus Orb comes for you. Costume credits, got some good costumes here. These are all visual, so they don't make a difference in gameplay at all, but these do make some cosmetic changes to the characters. If you do want to like change up the look of some characters, this is where you can get that. Let's shift our focus from some of the best practices, how to use your power cores, what are the best characters to farm. Let's shift it into combat, and before we get into actual combat, I do want to talk about some of these effects. Some of those are pretty self-explanatory, and if you click on the character that you are using in battle, you can see what some of these effects do. But some of the positive effects, counterattack, where you're just going to counterattack the other character. Death proof, attack that would defeat the character. Instead, it's going to reduce the character to 1 health. So characters can't die when they have death proof unless it's removed. Immunity means that no negative effect can be applied to the character. The opposite of that is disrupted. These big X's there. Defense up is an interesting one. Incoming damage increases by 50. Incoming damage is reduced by 50%, but if you have defense down, the incoming damage is increased by 50%. Also increases the resistance with defense up and decreases the resistance with defense down. So this is a very, very strong effects here. Bleeds are like overtime damage. Deflects blocks the next attack. Evade dodges the next attack. Regeneration gives you some health, but on the next turn, safeguard. Flip positive effects cannot be cleared or flipped. This effect cannot be copied or spread. Very, very strong. Where the opposite of that is trauma, where negative effects cannot be cleared or flipped. This effect cannot be cleared or copied as well. Got some minor offense ups. These are less upcoming damage. Minor offense downs. These are less damage as well. But yeah, the major offense up, increasing damage by 50%, increases focus by 50%. Offense down, it decreases damage by 50% and decreases focus by 50% as well. Stun obviously means you can't take the next turn, and taunt means that these characters need to be targeted. Stealth means the characters cannot be taunted. Most of these are self-explanatory, and these descriptions are on the website. Do want to talk about some of these other effects now. Some of them, again, are self-explanatory. Assist now means that you'll assist the next character that attacks during the turn. Charge does a bunch of different effects per character. Some characters make use of the charge mechanic, some don't. It is different per character, so with this, you would have to read the character's kit because it could be a pretty long explanation since there's about 300 characters in the game right now. Exhausted is a very important one. Now, the majority of the place you're going to get this is from a failed war or a failed Cosmic Crucible attack. Now, if you quit out, that doesn't give an exhausted for the defending team, but if you lose a battle in Crucible or a war, the next time you have one stack of exhausted, and these do stack up with each other. Another character in the game, Mephisto, does apply stocks of exhausted as well, and as I'm recording that, I think those are the only places you get exhausted. But what it does, a pretty powerful effect. Armor, damage, focus, resistance decreased by 20% per stack, and incoming damage is increased by 20% per stack. So it is a debilitating effect there. So exhausted, very, very important. Exposed is another mechanic that is a little different per character. Some characters like Val and endgame Thanos with their passive will give out ability energy when a character with exposed is attacked. A few characters have exposed, but not a lot of them right now. It is a little different per character. The vulnerable, when this character is vulnerable, increasing damage by 10%, and it does have some effects with the ISO 8 class that you have. The descriptions for the ISO 8 classes are in the game, and revive ones, obviously, when they die, they get revived. And in combat, if you click on a character, you can see the negative effects, what they do on the character. You can see the abilities that the character has and the character's stats, their base stats and their current stats when you apply the character's passives, other characters' passives, some synergy that they have. And if we look, we see that the green bar above each of these characters represents the character's health. This blue bar represents the turn meter. And as this blue bar fills up, that is when a character is going to take a turn. So as you see, this Miles Morales, low turn meter, which means he's not going to take a turn. This character right here, Punisher, has a lot of turn meter, which means he's going to be taking a turn very soon. The Spider-Man does not have a lot of turn meter, so that may influence which characters you're going to attack. If the character's right about to take a turn, you may want to attack that character first, other than a character that may be attacking later. And explain how the speed bar actually works. I'm going to use Sasquatch as an example. The reason is because he has a base speed of 100, and this blue speed bar represents 1,000 speed. So once you get 1,000 speed in this, that is when your character is going to take a turn. So for the example of Sasquatch, because his base speed is 100, that's going to take 10 ticks for him to get to 1,000. So it's going to take 10 ticks for him to get his turn. Another character like Yo-Yo is a faster character, one of the faster characters in the game. Her base speed is 140, which means instead of taking 10 ticks like Sasquatch to get to that 1,000 tick, take a turn, she's only take 7.14 ticks to get to 1,000. Now, the speed is affected by a bunch of different things, like I said. A lot of times passives from characters, a lot of times passives from other teammates will affect a character's speed. So this base speed of a Yo-Yo, 140 right now, it may be an effective speed of like 200, depending who you pair her with. So that is the basics of how the speed bar works. If you want more information, I did do a full video a few years back, so the production quality is a little different, but go into more explanation of how the speed bar works. But basically, fill your character's blue turn meter up, and then they're going to take a turn. Now, sometimes, as is the case with a lot of the arena matches you fight, We're going to use the exact same team versus the exact same team. And in this case, the speed bar is determined by a coin flip. So it's totally random. 50% chance that you go first, 50% chance that the enemy goes first. And oh, we just had that auto basic there. That is another thing. Watch your advanced settings. Sometimes you don't want a character to take a turn, or you're playing a little longer. Some of the advanced settings that you may want to watch is to make sure that they're not doing an auto basic, or that the combat does not turn on if you're not taking a turn. So in this case, we got screwed there. But as far as the turn meter, going back to it, if you go into a battle and the characters reach that 1,000 at the exact same time, it is by a coin flip, whether the exact same character or just by the passives and the way the speed bar works. If they reach that 1,000 at the same time, it's a coin flip. So 50% chance that you go first, 50% chance that the enemy goes first. Now, as far as how your team is placed, it does make a difference because there's several types of attacks that characters have. You have some AoE attacks, which is going to attack every character on the field. You also have some adjacent target attacks, which is going to attack targets that are adjacent. Chain attacks, rebound chain attacks. So we're talking about adjacency. If we look at our main team's adjacency, we have some adjacency. Gladiator is adjacent to Endgame Thanos. Endgame Thanos is adjacent to Ultimus. Ultimus adjacent to Gore, and Gore is adjacent to Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer is not adjacent to Ultimus. Thanos is not adjacent to Gore, and Ultimus is not adjacent to Gladiator. Now, this gets different. This gets a little tricky once we add some minions or some summons, or you're in the raids where you have the full team. So we add some minions in here. Let's add some hand minion in here. The max that you could have on the field per side at the time in a normal battle is 10. So we look at this and we take away the main team and their adjacency. The adjacency of the minions, the back row, we see Sentry as adjacent to, I believe that's Blade Master or Archer. Assassin is adjacent to Blade Master. Blade Master adjacent to Sorceress. Now, if we add the main team back in, we add our Annihilators back in, and we see which characters are adjacent. Well, Gladiator is going to be adjacent to Archer. Gladiator is also adjacent to Hand Sentry, and Gladiator is adjacent to Endgame Thanos, which means that if you're doing an adjacent attack, it is best to target these middle characters here, because you're going to hit the maximum amount of targets, unless you're selectively targeting someone that needs to be killed right away. But if you're just trying to get the maximum amount of damage, you want to target one of these middle characters, because these middle characters are going to be adjacent to 5 additional characters. Or if you attack one of these characters on the end like Gladiator, it's only adjacent to these other 3 characters there. So for your adjacent target attacks, that is the way to maximize damage. However, that may not be something you want to do, depending on which enemies are still there. And as far as chain attacks, you got 2 different types of chain attacks. The normal chain attacks go in one direction, and as long as you have an adjacent target that's not in stealth, not counterattacking, well, then the chain will continue. The rebound chain works similarly. However, rebound chains don't just go in one direction, they go in back and forth. So we could go Gladiator, Endgame Thanos, and back and forth until the chain ends. Now, let's say that Endgame Thanos is killed. All the adjacency that was with him is now removed. So if you want to get from Hand Sentry to Hand Assassin, you can't go through this way because there's no character there. You would have to go either up through Gladiator, through Archer, and then to Assassin, or straight through Archer to Assassin, or different ways. But once the character is removed, that adjacency is done, and the chain attack, well, you could go through a different chain, but there's nothing there anymore. And if we remove all the minions and just keep 4 characters on the field, well, now if Gladiator is taunting, and you do a chain attack, well, that is not going to hit any of these other characters. If you do an adjacent attack, it's not going to hit any of these other characters. So your team placement does matter, and understanding what is adjacent, what is not adjacent is also important. I do have another full video on this if you want more details about this. The link is going to be down below. And as the meta evolves in Marvel Strike Force, the teams that you may be searching for towards the beginning for the early heroes, villains campaigns, and what you may be farming in each of these individual stores may change, but always chase the current meta and these combat rules and some of these best practices for purchasing these things in the store and with your power cords should remain the same, unless we have some big gameplay changes or some wholesale changes in the game. Hopefully you did get some value from this video, and even if you're a later game player, hopefully there's still something in here that did give you some value. And if you did get some value, leave the video a like. It is free, tremendously. It helps out the ValleyFlyin channel, YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see one of the best characters farm right now in Marvel Strike Force, check out the video up there, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day. Hulk fist bump, ValleyFlyin, out.